We all know the rules. We all know what we should do and what we shouldn't. But still, how many of you look after your deals? That is because people are irrational. In this video, we will discuss the path of thinking that will change your trading forever. It's not some basic stuff like look after risk management. No. Any trader that wants to make it for the long haul must also have a strict set of rules and make sure we stick to them. Because at the end of the day, what good are rules if we break them, even if it's only 2 or 3 times a year? You know, there is nothing worse to me personally than taking a loss in the market that can wipe out of weeks or maybe even months of trading. You'll feel like the last several weeks or months just got flushed down the toilet. You have spent day in, day out grinding out wins, grinding out trades, and then boom, everything can be wiped out. It can mentally demoralizing and very hard to get your mind back to reset. You know, it's not just the financial part of the loss that hurts, the mental and emotional part can be just as bad. If you're not trading with a free and clear mind, you may as well go home. That's how even some great traders can get caught up in a vicious cycle. Once the losses start, they almost don't know how to get themselves out of it. That's why I think it's so important to try to stick to your rules and limit your losses. Before we continue, remember to check out our free Telegram channel where every day we post news, analyses, strategies, and even more. All what we wished when we started right now at one place for a total zero. Check the link in the description and we continue. One of the great benefits of being a trader is that we are our own boss. We work from home and for the most part we answer to nobody. It's really everybody's dream job. But you know, on the flip side, there is nobody there to hold us accountable. So let's say we all work for a company, doesn't matter whether it's big or small, and 2 to 3 times a year we bend to the rules or make the same mistake over and over again, costing the company tens of thousands or possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars. What would that company say to you? Most likely you would be out of a job. That's why it's so important as self-employed individuals and traders to hold ourselves accountable for our actions. I realize the most important thing I can do on a daily basis is preserve my capital. Taking excessive risks, taking on marginal trades, or adding to losing trades is an easy way for losers to add up. You know, sometimes as traders we're always focusing on the next big setup. How much are we going to make on this? How much did I make last week or last month? But how often do we focus on what we're doing poorly? How often do we focus on our losses? I think our losses can be a great tool to help us create some rules. I think our losses can help us study and say, hey, this is what I don't want to do again. This is what I don't want to do in the future. The thing about trading is it's very tough profession. I think the stats are something like 90-95% of traders fail. And why do they fail? They don't fail because of a lack of winning setups or a lack of wins. They fail because of their losses. They fail because there's just too many losses too frequently, or it's just that one big loss. That's the thing in the market. One lose can wipe you out and end your career. That's where a good set of rules can either make or break you for the long haul. Now, trading can be a difficult profession. We sit in front of our computers all day long and we feel unproductive if we are not always in a trade or pushing buttons. You know, we follow traders on Twitter who tweet a new idea or ticker every 35 seconds and we say, hey, that guy trades 80 to 90 tickers a day. I need to do the same thing. No, I think that's BS. I don't think you should do the same thing. I think you need to stick with your high probability setups, the setups you know you're going to be profitable on at least 75, 80, hopefully 90% of the time. Sometimes it can be hard to see it on your hands and be patient waiting for those setups. But why chase sub-bar setups? Why chase boredom trades? Why put good money after bad? How many of us here as traders have fallen code, a chat room, a Twitter, or a friend into an idea that we knew wasn't a high probability setup for our own trading style? Well, we all have different trading styles here. What works for you may not work for me. Personally, I'm a terrible long bias trader. If and when I ever do go long, I take profits extremely fast, knowing that a lot of times profits can just get away from me pretty quick. I don't have the patience or the conviction to hold them. That's why month after month, year after year, I personally get more strict about the trades I place. I probably place half the amount of trades I did 5 years ago, but I make my way more money. Why? Because I trade the high probability setups. I know I'm going to be profitable on 80-90% of the time. I like to use size with those trades, and I have very strict rules when it comes to cutting losses. Now, I'm sure most of us as traders have rules, or at least we should. How many of us use stops? I mean, stops are a must. We all have to use stops. Now, I personally rarely use hard stops, but I have mental stops on every position that I take. Basically, if something is breaking support or resistance, I usually just exit that trade. I think most of us here need to have a mental idea in our heads of where we're going to exit a trade based on where it goes against us. How many of us have ever been in a losing trade? We're down something small, maybe 5k, and we think I'm not going to cut it. I feel like this is going to be a winner, and we add to that trade. An hour later, we down 20k or 30k, and we think, wow, it's hard. I can't cut it now. We hold it to the afternoon, maybe to tomorrow, and it gaps down. We're now down 70k, 80k, 100k, and we think, what the heck just happened? I mean, I could have cut the loss yesterday for 3k, 4k, or 5k. Now I've given up 10, maybe 20% of my year just by being stubborn. Think about how much more money we could make at the end of the year if we just stick to some simple rules and cut our losses at an appropriate place. For me personally, I very rarely enter a trade unless it's with a starter size really small, unless I know I'm going to be in the money immediately. Why would you ever enter a trade knowing it's going to go against you and say, oh, I will add higher? Why would you ever want to do that? Personally, I like to be right on my first entry, and if I'm not, I cut it and look for a re-entry. The last thing I want to do is be stubborn, refuse to cut a loss, add to losers, and before you know it, you have given up 10, 20, maybe 30% of your year on any particular setup. I see so many traders that can consistently make money month after month after month, only to realize that at the end of the year they were stubborn on 3 or 4 tickers and they gave up maybe 20-30% of their year. Now let's talk about being stubborn for a minute. Why is it that we refuse to cut losses? Why do we sometimes refuse to be wrong? Has the research we have done on any particular stock made us so overly biased that we think the market is wrong and we're right? Or did we possibly take too much size overnight on a long float stock that opened dramatically against us? There are numerous reasons we take losses in the market, and a majority of them are our fault. We can say, well, for example, TRB was manipulated when it went from $5 to $115, or INJ was when it went from $3 to like $20 within a couple of days. And those are true. Some people added after hours and some added a few days later. I think at the end of the day, our losses are basically our fault. Sure, there can be unexpected news or events, but I think it's our stubbornness that leads to some of our biggest losses. Personally, I have a lot of rules in my trading. I've already gone over a couple of them. Most of them are just integrated in my head, and I'm just like a talking machine, you know, I don't even have to think about them. But I will go over a few of my top rules against real quick. I like to trade the best setups out there, setups that I know I'm going to be profitable on a majority of the time. I don't like to be chase sub-bar setups. I use stops for every trade and I cut losses quickly. I never like to add to losers or increase my size unless I'm in the money, and I'm not afraid to take profits too quickly when I'm long. Those are just a few rules off the top of my head. Now, one thing that I think we can all do, and I think this is very important, is to keep a list of our top trading rules and make sure we have those rules with us every day while we are trading. Before we sum up all the rules, we posted more of this kind of information on our free Telegram channel. Besides psychology, rules, and some useful materials, there are a lot of predictions and analyses. If you want to save some time and energy, check out the link below. And don't ever say to yourself, it can go higher. I mean, it can go higher or lower. For anybody who says it can go higher, put a chart of Bitcoin next to your computer from last March. For anyone who says it can go lower, put a chart next to your computer from November 2022 or September 2023. Third, take profits on winning trades. You know, I always scale out of positions. Let's say I'm short 50,000 shares of a position and it's reached maybe 70% of my target. I would like to take at least a third of right there. Always lock some in. If it falls another 10, 15, 20 cents, take another 10, 15,000 shares off, whatever it is. Don't ever try to be so stubborn to try to pick the exact tops or bottoms. Another one, it's always important to trade with a free and clear mind. I've noticed that if I don't sleep well, or maybe had a traumatic event in your family, whatever it is, it's just best not to trade. And don't ever trade if you feel obligated or forced to make money. You know, if you had a big loss last week, don't ever take revenge. You really have to have a free and clear mind to trade in the markets. The biggest one of the all, and lastly, cut losses, cut losses, cut losses. I think as traders, if we can create a good list of rules with strict stop loss management, I think at the end of the day, we can become more profitable traders. Thank you guys for watching this video until the end. Don't forget to like, share this video with your friends, and yeah, Michael was with you in this video. Don't forget to go to the link in the description. We have very cool Telegram channel. Goodbye.